This is a nightmare that doesn't go away once I give myself in the morning. If I could, I'd go back and do everything different. This is a nightmare that doesn't go away once I such a bright, cheerful kid. Sorry. We just don't understand how this can happen to such a bright, cheerful kid. I understand how many in Connie can be upset and want to do and say things to me because he was in my care. If it had happened, I understand how many in Connie I'd be upset and feel and want to do and say things to me because he was in my care. You have to process and comprehend such violent tragedy in her care. I don't blame others too. It blames yourself responsibly too. When you have to process and comprehend such violent tragedy, how does that feel blames others? It blames ourselves. My job is it? Is it bad? Mindy,
Let me guess. You're
so
thinking
sorry.
about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea. But first, let's talk about the things they don't tell you. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea. But first, let's talk about the things they tell you.
And I was not able to do that. And I'm sorry. To make matters worse, I have to fear for my freedom, as it is the goal of some to see me go to jail rather than grieve the loss of my little boy. To make matters worse, I have to fear for my freedom, as it is the goal of some to see me go to jail rather than be with my son, my little boy. Before I all I have to do is have that one thing every parent deserves. I wish I could give you all the answers, but I don't have all. Be with my son. I'm barely getting to a day where I return home. That doesn't take me to a dark place. I wish I could give you all of the answers. I miss my son. I don't have all of them. I miss my kids. That doesn't hope you all can understand how fragile we all are. And I hope we all fragile are. And how quickly things can turn things upside down. It makes you wish you spent more time. I'm sure throughout this situation, there will be a lot of less than favorable things said towards everyone. I would hope that we can all cooperate and band together to make sure Cash gets justice he deserves. He deserves to see us all united, the strong family that we are. Thank you for all your support and care, and thank you all for allowing me an opportunity to get my voice heard.
It seems that both Monica and Trevor have a history of abuse, possession, and run-ins with the law. Crime Online has reported that Trevor is wanted on a number of charges, including two counts of unauthorized use of vehicle, fraud, 2 counts of drug possession, and theft by check. In 2018, Trevor spent 68 days in California after he was arrested by Harris County Sheriff's deputies for assaulting his father, Roger Herman, after they got into an argument over a credit card bill. Apparently, Roger said he was going to call police, and Trevor grabbed the phone from him, drawing blood off his arm with his fingernails. Trevor was then charged with misdemeanor assault and interference with an emergency telecall. Trevor was also charged with possession of methamphetamine in 2016, and most recently he was charged with possession of narcotics in 2020, which was the charge that he would order to rehab for, but instead ran. Monica did call Howard, but she also said that Trevor was a good father for the most part, and that this was a mishap for him. An acquaintance of Trevor's, Neil Flanagan, who'd gone to high school with him, he had things to say about Trevor as well. He said, he had given a job. He owns a corrosion business, and he gave Trevor a job there. And I guess one day just stop shop, and then he messaged him on Facebook a couple years after, and hey, what's going on? Like nothing happened, like he didn't just leave him high and dry, he disappeared. Neil said that Trevor was so he was as good as you could ask for. But Neil's father, John, and thinks Trevor's behavior is a pretty accurate reflection of his character. Saying, quote, he was one of these guys that goes to Trevor, bathe in gloves, and he'll do good for several months, and then do bad for several months, and just stop this here, and end quote. Monica Schraub also has a rocky past. We've got a DWI, we've got identity fraud charges, I've got a license, misdemeanor theft, methamphetamine possession, and in 2013 she pled guilty to attacking her mother, Leslie Hinton. According to the arrest affidavit, Monica intentionally struck her mother in the head and chest with her hand and pulled her to the ground, causing bodily injury to her by then stomping on mother's toes with her feet. Leslie Pinkerton told the responding police officer that she believed her toes were broken, and Monica was sentenced to 2 years of community supervision, participation in a domestic violence treatment program, a $100 donation to a violence center, and a $200 fine. Now let's hear from Monica now, because she's got a lot to say. Starting with Cash Carter's biological mother, Linda Seagroves, who lives in Houston. And after Cash's death, it's been reported that Carter, Cash's brother, was returned to Melinda. But it's also kind of funny, we don't know exactly what happened, because the official statement is that Carter had been united with Melinda. We don't know whose care or custody Carter was actually in. Now, Melinda and her mother and her sister, they haven't spoken much to the media, but they did say that they have been searching for Cash and Carter frantically for quite a while, which Monica disputes, saying, quote, she wasn't. Last Christmas, we begged her to even FaceTime the boys, and she wouldn't. She's a trucker. She hasn't properly seen the boys for 2 years. Trevor has custody of them. Now, all of a sudden, it's reported she and her mother were looking for them, and they missed them because Cash passed away. It is also reported that Carter is now back with her, which I don't believe is true. I think he's in the custody of child services. End quote. So, like I already said, this is he said, she said, and Cash gets lost in the shuffle of pointing fingers and virtue signaling. I was the better parent. I was the better parent. I did more for him. I loved him more. Monica went on to say, quote, if you showed them a picture of her, they didn't know who she was. They called me Mommy. If someone said, is Monica there? They would say, no. I would be like, that's me. I'm Monica. They'd say, no, you're not. You're Mommy. I felt they needed a mom. They needed stability. End quote. Monica has also claimed that Melinda Seagroves has banned her from Cash's funeral, and she doesn't know why, because Monica says, I've been the one who's been taking care of these boys, not Melinda. Melinda wasn't the one there for them, I was. Monica said she loves both boys as if they were her very own, and she described Cash as a very happy child. She said he was always eager to learn, and every day they would sit at the kitchen table and go through his ABCs, because he was just hungry for knowledge. And when she first got the boys in her house, she said they didn't know anything, not even their colors. They couldn't tell her what letters were by sight. Monica said that Cash loved books and wanted to learn to read so badly. She said, quote, he would always say, what's that say and what's that say? He wanted me to read the same book over and over again, end quote. And this is exactly what kids do when they want to learn to read. They need to read the same book over and over again, so it's repetitive, so they can kind of look at the sentences and put them together with the words that you're saying. Monica said that out of the two boys, Cash and Carter, Cash was the leader. He was the one who showed Carter how to do everything, and he was the one who was brave enough to follow through with everything. So it does seem as if she knew these two boys, but I do want to keep in mind that she only raised Cash and Carter for roughly 3 months. It is so hard to tell what the truth is when everyone has a different version of it. Monica Schraub has been accused by the Seagroves family of using Cash's death for monetary gain. Melinda's sister, Patty Seagroves, she said that they had no idea Cash and Carter had been living with Monica. She went on to say, quote, the woman has also falsely claimed to be Cash's mother and has tried to gain financially from his death, end quote. Patty Seagroves has started her own GoFundMe, which at the time of recording this video has reached over $12,000, and she urged the public to not donate to any GoFundMe pages associated with Monica Schraub. I believe the GoFundMe that is started by the Seagroves family is to raise money to bring Cash's body from Dallas to Houston and
where monsters teach you math. Oh my. That monster looks incredible. Alright, hatch themselves. Let's go. Ooh, I can't wait to see what us head is inside this day. Let's do it. Do you know, sir? Click here. Answer and hatch your own head. Mine.
It's true. Click here to try out more problems yourself. And here it is. When it adopted mine. Very. Monica, Sherrod, her two oldest sons and her parents, they visited this place that Cash was found a few days after his death. They left a large toy dinosaur at a shrine that had already been created there. She said the dinosaur was his favorite toy, and Cash used to put all his little cars around the dinosaur and then tell her that he'd made a monster truck. Monica also said that she's been getting a lot of hate online. People are blaming her for Cash's death and speculating a lot. She wants everyone to know that she isn't a monster. Her kids are her life. So, personally, I think there's something sketchy about the whole thing. But I do want to remind everyone that we should not be harassing people online, ever. Right? Monica may trigger our true crime spidey senses. I definitely think she triggers mine. She is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And there's a chance that it all went down exactly as she said. So no matter how convinced you are that she's done something wrong here or she just seems off to you, if we continue the cycle of hate, it doesn't help anyone. It certainly doesn't help Cash or Carter. You really need to reserve judgment on these things until we get more information. And I mean, we can talk here, like we can speculate. I can say to you, it seems sketchy. You can say to me in the comments, yeah, it definitely seems sketchy. Something about this doesn't make sense. But to go and, find her, seek her out, and accuse her of murdering Cash, accuse her of, setting up Darren Brown to murder Cash, accusing her of just being like a bad person in general, is just unproductive. Like, it doesn't do anything besides make the person who's like lodging these complaints or lodging these accusations feel better very temporarily. So like I said, spidey sense is tingling. Because here's the thing. Initially, Monica told the media that she and her family had no connection to Cash's abductor, Darren Brown. Early on in this case, local station WFAA talked to both Monica and her 18-year-old son, Cameron. And it's right there in black and white on their website. It says, quote, she told the outlet that there was no relationship between Brown and the child, and she had no idea why Brown would allegedly take the boy, end quote. But as it turns out, that was not exactly the truth. 18-year-old Cameron Morey, Monica's son, he said that he considered Cash his little brother. He said Cash loved everybody, had the biggest smile ever, and loved to play superheroes with Cameron.
Cameron Morey stopped by to drop off flowers.
The sweetest little boy. He loved everybody. The biggest smile ever.
Morey lived in the same home as the 4-year-old. He says he woke up and the child was missing.
I got up, I'm talking about in my shorts, no socks, no shoes, no shirt. Running around the neighborhood looking for him. And I run down over there.
Morey's mother had been taking care of the child. Police say his biological father dropped him off at their home back in March, and she lost contact with him.
She can't stop crying. She's been crying ever since. She don't know what to do. She thinks it's her fault. I tell her it's not. There's no reason for this. Like, what he did was wrong.
Brown, who also lives in the same neighborhood, was out on bond for an unrelated charge at the time of the murder. Fox 4 spoke to one of his family members off camera. They claim he suffers from mental health problems. It's still unclear if Brown knew the boy. Morey says he recognizes Brown from school, but has no idea why this would happen.
It's a 4-year-old kid, bro. Like, for what?
At the house where Dallas police say 4-year-old Cash Brown was kidnapped, Cameron Morey, who lives here, says he's as hurt as he is confused.
Like, wow. He was 4, Like, who does this to 4-year-old kids? You know what I'm saying? For what? Just for no reason? Just because you want to be evil?
Until Saturday morning, when Morey's mother claims this man, Darren Brown, kidnapped Cash.
Because we got cameras all over the place in my house. It's always him coming in. Took him while he was asleep. While he's asleep. Carry him out of my house while he's asleep. If I put it right now, switch my place for his.
You're saying that he randomly...
Random, yes. Random out of nowhere. For no reason. There's no reason for none of this. There's no, it's not from revenge, not from hate, not from none of that. Not to get back at us, from revenge, not from hate, not from none of that. Not to get back at us, nothing.
So Cameron says in this interview that he recognized Darren Brown from high school. They both attended Duncanville High School that he recognized Darren Brown from high school. Both Monica and Cameron, Duncanville High School. This is area. I think Cameron says something like definitely don't think this was Cameron. They say random. This is random. I think Cameron says something like, Cameron definitely don't think this was payback, revenge, or friends, and they would see each other. Cameron never says that he was the one who identified Darren Brown from the surveillance footage. She said she knew him. She was the one who identified Darren Brown from the surveillance footage. She said Monica and Cameron, she looked like everyone the impression, like I said, that this was completely random. They had no idea the impression why Darren, like I said, that this was the last few days. Random new updates have come out, including why Darren got now admitting to the media that Darren has been in new updates have just 2 days, including Monica now admitting to the media that Darren had been gotten there to the house 2 days grocery shopping. She didn't know Monica said when she got home and she got there to the house, she was out grocery shopping, spending time with cash. When she said she was annoyed by this, and she told Brown to leave and not spending time with cash. She said she was annoyed by this, and she told son Cameron and not daughter Emily want him for letting him without. And then she reprimanded her son Cameron and daughter Emily. Emily said he letting her out without permission. What's never explained is why here for a short time. Emily said he creeped her out. Darren Brown in her house. What's never explained is why Monica would see Darren Brown in her house and immediately
step inside. I'd love to show you what a K-12 you can dive into subjects you love. Step inside. Move as fast or as slow as you need to. Here you can dive into subjects you love. You'll connect with teachers and as you need to. Explore your learning soar and learn great skills for the teachers and classmates. Hey, explore your interest is knocking and learn great skills for the discover yours. Hey, now enrolling. Is knocking. Opportunity. Discover yours. Now enrolling.
More boxes, more options. Granger has over 1,700 box types in stock. And Granger more boxes, store more options. And Granger has over 1,700 boxes to deliver boxes fast. And Granger count on Granger store and ship. Call or click Granger.com/boxes to deliver boxes fast. Count on Granger for boxes. Call or click Granger.com/boxes today.
Go so hard. You know, like, leave my house, don't come back. I don't want you around my kids. You know, what does Monica know about Darren Brown? Don't come back. I don't want you around my kids. Because what does Monica know about Darren Brown? Find like an 18-year-old kid in your house who's a classmate. Because why would you then just go from 0 to 18-year-old kid in your house who's a classmate of your son? And then just go from 0 to 100. Experience does she have with Darren Brown? Don't come back. I don't want you around my kids. Would cause her to have that reaction when she sees him? Prior experience does she have with Darren Brown? While Darren Brown was in the house, that reaction when she sees him in her house. Monica's daughter. What happened? While Darren Brown was in the house, we not being that creeped. That's what I'm curious about. And I went through it on the part. A lot of these articles are like, oh, the Buddha had the we don't know their and we also don't know what the connection between the families. There's no connection and how they came out because her aunt knows 22 on her family, no connection. And after a few days, Monica and Lisa, you know, like but another story is that family of Darren Morris, Monica's son, later by Darren as you know what it is. They don't really have like a relationship with him. Let's talk about Darren. Darren had a bad habit of neighborhood and security cameras. And I think with this he's telling them he's going to numbers and kill him. I'm gonna leave the panel. I was on messages. I was Facebook about Darren and I'm gonna let you just said this apparently neighbors of Darren Brown.
This guy has terrorized neighborhood for weeks and he took his threats. He kept his property with him. He said that he's coming to kill me. Y'all had pictures of him. It wasn't taken seriously. He was so much. They got pictures of him on the doorbells. We all each concerns know. City runs the vision of city on the bid, city of Destin. Each police department hit him. We've all done every person to stop this guy. He stood at your family at night with the heavy mask. He was hard. He was messing with the basketball. We're scared. I would have taken up soon as my husband left, and we would come back after he got out. got out of work around 10 p.m. We unblocked our kids inside the truck, and we will run from our truck to the house all together. We were afraid he would be hiding in the bushes and hit us with the hammer while we were unbuckling our kids. All of us knew he was going to kill someone eventually. An innocent 4-year-old had to be killed for his threats to be taken seriously. Madness. We had one person who said, I am disappointed that this kid has roamed our neighborhood wreaking havoc for a month, and every time police were called, it was stressed that someone was going to get hurt. I need to speak to someone regarding my disappointment on the efforts put out to keep this from happening and to link him to the crimes that led up to this. One could even say it was premeditated by his comments to me and my wife about coming in the middle of the night and killing my family. It says the picture of the youngster that has been terrorizing people in the neighborhood is the same person who broke into my home while I was present and tried to kidnap my granddaughter and assaulted me. We unblocked our kid in February 2021. We will run from our truck. He came from the same address near my home. The police response was sadly very late, but I survived. Hiding. Councilman Thomas was made aware of it as well. While we were as the Southwest Substation Commander kidnapped my granddaughter and who has not called me back yet. In February, has left me bewildered. He came from the same Dallas police, and police response was sad those occupants, but I survived. Where the Councilman Thomas was made aware, the police officers totally mishandled the Southwest Substation Commander kidnapping. Weddington had called 911 several times. Me back yet. During the home invasion has left me bewildered about Dallas police and very disappointed about us. The police officers totally had to call during.
I was excited about milking.
It was only the grace of God that no one was killed, and that my grandmother, disabled sister-in-law, myself survived the ordeal. Okay, I seen the suspect and his mother at the Walmart several weeks later. It was only the grace of God that no one was killed, and that my grandmother, disabled sister-in-law, for myself survived the ordeal. I forgave. Okay, I seen the suspect and his mother at the
Local
Walmart
news
several
outlet
weeks later.
WFAA reported that on Monday, May 24th, neighbors of Cashburn gathered with city leaders at the Park in the Woods Recreation Center and begged for a better police presence in their far southwest Dallas neighborhood. WFAA reported that on Monday, Eddie Garcia addressed those gathered gathered with city leaders at the Park in the Woods Recreation Center and I was angry as a father for a better police presence in their far southwest Dallas neighborhood. He'd only been on the job chief Eddie Garcia addressed those gathered. And when he drove, when I got this Dallas police headquarters as an officer, and I was angry as a father, he was stunned at how far he also went on to say that many neighbors pointed out as he's only in this this is the reason we're upset. And when he drove, when it comes to police Dallas PD headquarters to the area where so I think there's a disconnect here at how Dallas PD they don't realize, which many neighbors pointed out as problematic. This is the reason we're upset because when it comes to police response time, neighborhoods, it's awful. So I think there's a disconnect here with Dallas PD. They don't realize those neighborhoods need to know that if they call 911 in some of these attacking them further out in our house tried to neighborhoods kill their granddaughter, neighborhoods and granddaughter, they need to know that if they call 911 need people patrolling, are going to be there. Those neighborhoods need to know that if they call 911, pictures and videos of Darren breaking their doorbell cameras, know that all 911 be there, handles of cars in the driveway, pictures, videos of Darren being door cameras even around his car driveway. There was also more surveillance video released from a man who lives. There was also more surveillance videos missed showing a man presumably tiny little episode. His name was Alex. His own security camera on his property. Brown's arrest on this lake. Security that Darren Brown opens the gate into ours and appears before quickly away, which was really scary. 2 kids who often play basketball in that backyard, and like he had no idea that this was happening. And this is the same person now, allegedly, who kidnapped a 4-year-old boy and stabbed him to death, and possibly sexually assaulted him, if we can believe the statement of Monica's father. At the time of Brown's arrest and Cash's abduction, he was already facing a misdemeanor charge for evading arrest on April 27th, 2021. It was also reported in a lot of places that Brown was wearing an ankle monitor when he entered Cash's bedroom and took him out. But that has since been found out to be inaccurate information, what some might call misinformation. Like, you should probably check your sources and make sure something like that's accurate, because if he was wearing an ankle monitor when he went into Cash's house, this would be very easy to prove that it was him. I don't think the police would really need to worry that much about forensics, because those ankle monitors transmit information about location and stuff back to the police, so it would be easy to prove that he was in the house that morning. The Dallas Morning News reported that Darren Brown lived with his parents, who supported him financially, and a woman who's identified herself as Darren's mother, Mimi Brown. She spoke to a reporter over the phone and said that her son is a patient at Metro Care Services, and this is a place that provides mental health care to children and adults. She also said that she believes he's been framed and didn't do this. She said Darren was home all weekend. She said Darren's very kind and helps take care of his younger cousins at home. And she knows that he's traumatized and scared right now, because she's scared and traumatized right now. And she's worried that, with his fragile mental health, like, all the stuff that's happening right now isn't going to be good for him. Mimi Brown told crimeonline.com, quote, "I think that 4-year-old boy was killed at them people's home, and I believe someone had transportation, like a car or truck, and transported his body to the body site," end quote. So here come the wild speculations, right? Like, I completely respect Mimi Brown's need or passion to defend her son, especially if he has mental health issues, because, I know that parents who have arrest in Cash's abduction health issues are developmental disabilities. They are being arrested on April 27th, 2020. They're mama bears. It was also they need to protect their kids from this world. That Brown was wearing an ankle monitor these children when he entered Cash's bedroom and took him out. So I understand her need to do that. I don't understand information. Her need to start throwing out speculations and accusations about Monica Schrad. Not that I'm saying Monica Schrad is innocent. They're mama bears. We don't know. They need to protect their kids from this world like that publicly. Treats these children to this fire differently. Really. So I understand her need to do that. Of course, I don't understand there's going to be a bunch of speculation to start going out, like speculations and accusations. Things don't add up. Not that I'm saying Monica Schrad is innocent. I'm saying to see how many people believe seeing something like Darren publicly was framed. So there have been accusations that Monica Schrad either paid or convinced Darren to do this speculation. Maybe she was sick of, as is often the case when small children, things don't add up. She wanted them gone. Honestly surprised to see she's how many people believe she's the Energizer Bunny. She never stops. I can't imagine having there have been accusations that Monica Schrad either paid or convinced Darren to do this, but it's just that maybe she was sick, right? There's also allegations that when we see she wanted this man on the surveillance video from Cash's bedroom taking him out of the bed, she's the Energizer Bunny. She never stops. Monica's son, Cameron Mori. They do sort of resemble each other. So I guess that's a plausible theory, but it's just that theory. I don't know. I think that it is. There's also allegations that when we see this man on the surveillance video from Cash's bedroom taking him out of the surveillance videos and pictures from his neighborhood, Monica's son, people's homes that he had like damaged sort of resemble each other. Maybe like him, wearing the same backpack, body types the same. I don't know. I think that it is Darren comparing Darren in that surveillance video to Darren in the surveillance video from Lewis's house, the next door neighbor, comparing him to the surveillance videos and pictures from his neighborhood of all the people's homes that he had like damaged with his hammer. It looks like him wearing the same backpack, walks the same. But there was a fake Facebook post going around for a while. It even made it to Reddit.
First one we've been working on has just complete IO is merging with our imagination.
Johnny called one day and said this is the best way how to create a family device is this piece of technology people that will use AI to create all sorts of things. This will be one of these moments of just an absolute embarrassment for issues of what will create for collective society.
I am absolutely certain that we are on the brink of a new generation of technology that can make us our better selves.
And this Facebook post looks like it was created by somebody who's pretending to be Dallas law enforcement. Facebook post looks like it was created by somebody who's pretending to be before you figure out that it's fake. I took a screenshot of it on my phone, so I'm going to read it to you. Before you figure out that Dallas Police Department, I took a screenshot of it on my phone, so I'm going to read it to you. There has been an arrest in the Dallas Department. Albert recently found dead in the street. There has been an investigation is ongoing. 4-year-old recently found dead. Has a history of mental health and drug use-related issues. Is not the suspect is not has a history of mental health and drug use-related issues. Preliminary child kidnapping charge at this time. No cause of death has been determined. Only has a preliminary child kidnapping charge at this time. No child death has been determined. We will add additional charges after those forensic results. However, or a child molestation, we will add additional charges after those forensic results. However, it has come to our version of events to the media and has been giving us outlet recently. Fabricated version of events to the media and Monica at this time recently. Claimed that her son was randomly kidnapped in the middle of the night after the suspect broke into her house and claimed that her son was randomly kidnapped in the middle of the night after the suspect broke into her house and claimed she saw never once called that proves that story, but this is not accurate. The mom never once called police, making that accusation, never once called police or reported him as missing. For 2 days, why no Amber Alert was sent out. Never once called police would immediately call police if the stranger broke into their home and kidnapped their child. Most parents would immediately call police if the stranger broke into their home. The suspect did indeed kidnap their child, and according to neighbors, he was there all the time. The suspect did indeed have living in the house, and according to neighbors, he was there all the time, and also had been living in the mother and family are involved with. At this point, the mom is not yet know what the mother and has a lengthy criminal history herself. The mom is not a credible person and has a lengthy criminal history herself as the proud gang leader and Facebook post with doctor photos referring to herself as the proud victim's twin brother was taken away by Child Protective Services and is in state custody. Victim's twin brother was taken away by Child Protective Services and is in state custody. According to tips and strung out on drugs, and she was letting the suspect molest the child in exchange for illegal narcotics, and she was letting the suspect molest the child in exchange for illegal scenario at this point is that the suspect in our preliminary findings, the most likely scenario at this point is that the suspect CPS would find out about the abuse and have them criminally charged. Of fear, CPS would find out about the abuse and have them criminally charged. The child prior to the killing in the woods. The mom might have been in on it, but right now we don't have enough evidence to charge the mother as of yet. The mom might have been in on it, but right now we don't have enough evidence to charge the mother as of yet. The FBI has area for evidence all weekend. Monica has informed the authorities that she will no longer talk to us about her area for evidence all weekend. Monica has informed the authorities that she will no longer talk to us about her son's death without a lawyer present. Really good creative writing, except for all the typos and misspelled words. True crime book, like a true crime fiction book about this. This person should, but it's clearly not from any legitimate law enforcement about this. Entity. It doesn't even sound like a public statement that the police would give. The police don't make public statements. It doesn't even sound like a public statement neighbors are saying. Stuff like that. Don't make public statements about I'm not sure what if somebody did this that would be stuff like that, or if they were just trying to like make Monica if somebody did this that it would just go viral and just get out there just trying to like make Monica. Now I will say this: there have been other people online now talking about the fact that Monica. Now I will say this: there have been other people online now talking about the fact that Monica and they're getting that from this fake post. I wonder and kind of just running with it. They're getting that I don't see it really anywhere else. And kind of just running with it because and stuff like that. I don't see it really anywhere else. No evidence of that. Besides, and is that me saying that it's not possible? Like that. Of course it's possible. There's no evidence. But is it provable? And is that me saying that it's not possible? Of course it's possible. But is it provable? Not everything's provable. That's what we have to ask ourselves. I do have to admit, and it all seems super, not super sketchy to me. But like I said, look at Monica's interview with the Daily Mail. It all seems super sketchy because she does. When you look at Monica's interview with the Daily Mail, then you look around her and you kind of wonder because she does seem genuinely upset. But then you look around her and you kind of wonder.
Big ideas don't come easy. Big ideas, but when you get one, don't come easy. Use that moment of clarity when you get one to create a new reality. To create a new reality. To turn your pastime into your full time. To turn your pastime, your personal style, into your full time. Into your signature personal style. Into your signature brand. Into a household name. Recipe. Into a household name. Your daydream. Your daydream. Into your dream job. Into your dream job. Your talent. Your talent movement. From taking the first step movement to seeing it all come together. From taking the first step
You're seeing it all come together. Where you can do it yourself. Wix.
Through these forests, over these waters, this land calls to us. Through these forests, over these waters, this land calls to us. Local knowledge passed down. The answer, trusted advice, always by your side. Local knowledge passed down. Trusted advice, always by your side. Sportsman's Warehouse. Start your adventure.
How are these kids living in that house? The place is kind of trashed. It's messy. How are these kids living in that house? Like no one's putting any effort into upkeeping it. It's very run down. Like no one's putting any effort into upkeeping it or cleaning it. There's marks all over the walls. I don't know what's on the walls. It looks like dirt maybe hanging on the windows from the inside. So inside the room, there's sheets hanging on the windows from the inside. So inside the room, there's sheets hanging on the windows. A bunch of like curtains or blinds on the window. And from the outside of the house, judge just like a bunch of broken blinds or how they live. You know, that's I usually don't judge what people do in a real live and let live type of person. That's up to you. I'm a real live and let live type of person. Really do have to ask yourself, were they being cared for well in this home? When it doesn't have to ask yourself, were they being cared for well in this home? That is not, however, proof that Monica or her family were involved or complicit in what happened to Cash. It's just an observation. Her family were involved and also a statement what happened to Cash. It's just an observation, one way or the other, and also a statement for me to come out before I make decisions one way or the other. And Darren Brown were working together. I think Darren Brown and Cameron Moore were working together. And Darren Brown were working together. Or Darren Brown and Cameron Moore were working together. And that's going to be looked into. And even if Monica's erased everything on her phone about that, Darren will still have stuff on his phone maybe, or they can use a Celebrate and get all the stuff that's been deleted off of it. It'll be found out. And I do think it was Darren Brown in that room. You can see he's wearing the same backpack he can be seen wearing in the neighbor's pictures and the videos of him with a hammer smashing people's ring doorbells. So that's a big reason of why I'm not gonna just jump right on this, conspiracy theory that Darren wasn't the one in the bedroom. Because if you look at his past behavior in the bedroom, look at his past actions, you look at his past behavior, consistent with you look at his past whether actions, he made the decision to take this little boy's life on his own, whether he made the decision to take this little boy's life on his own, or to do it, talked into it, or paid to do it, or manipulated to do it. I can't be sure. Darren Brown could have potentially been struggling with some serious mental health issues. Could have potentially been struggling with some serious mental health issues. And violent behaviors. Doing things that I think the fact that Monica and Cameron initially seemed confused as to why Cameron initially sort of made it seem as if they just knew in passing, and then it comes out that Darren was actually at their house interacting with Cash just 2 days prior. Darren would have done this and sort of made it seem as if they just knew in my passing, and then it comes out. But it doesn't change the fact that at their house, Darren interacting with Cash just 2 days prior, allegedly. And there's people out there who like that's suspicious. Taking the surveillance footage, but it doesn't change the fact that this is definitely Darren pretending to be Darren. I don't know, guys. It's like a little far-fetched, taking the surveillance footage, nothing would surprise me that this is definitely Cameron pretending to be Darren. I don't know, guys. So she didn't call police until almost 11. But now nothing would surprise me personally. Another thing that did look suspicious to me is how long it took for her. She gets me up at about 7:30 every morning, so I'm used to getting up at that time. If I sleep past 7:30. I'll wake up. So she didn't call police until almost 11. I'll wake up thinking something's wrong. For me, she didn't wake me up at 7:30. It's 7:45. My what's going for you? She gets me up at about 7:30 every morning. Usually it's just so I'm used to getting tired that day before. So she ends up sleeping later past 7:30. Monica wake up pretty late and be like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'll wake up thinking something's wrong. She was like, "What's going on?" Wake me up at 7:30. It's 7:45 now. What's so I guess that makes sense. That if everybody in the house was sleeping, usually it's just and nobody's very tired the day before, so she ended up sleeping later. Know that something had happened. Monica slept by the morning to wouldn't. She said she woke up and she was like, what's going on? The kids usually haven't. How are they going to get up by now? So I guess that makes sense. If everybody in the house was sleeping, I have to double check and make sure. And if anybody knows, let me know. But how would they know that something had happened? Video, like 5 o'clock in the morning, they would. Darren Brown and then back the kids aren't waking around like 7:30. Then how are they going to get up? He ran out. Didn't it look like Carter wakes up shortly after? I have to double check and make sure. Somebody in the room, let me know. But woke up, so it was already getting to be morning. Video, the surveillance video, it looked like Darren Brown came back inside 8 o'clock, even around like 7:30. Something spooked him. He ran out, and then it looks like Carter somebody shortly after. Is he just one of those 4-year-olds? Somebody in the room, and he like really late, or is he just one of those 4-year-olds that? would get up and nobody else is up and just left the adult sleep till he get up. Even like 8:30. But according to Monica, she woke up late, wouldn't even realize somebody wasn't there. They panicked, is running around those 4-year-olds, and that's when she called police. And if all of that is late, or is he just one of those 4-year-olds that just don't understand, get up and nobody else is up and just lets the adult sleep till they get up? We also did have police going into Monica. She woke up late. Darren Brown realized Cash wasn't there. They panicked, running around looking for him, and that's when she called police. And if all of that is 100% true, then I get it. Blood on it. They also understand a small pocket knife. Carter did remember. I guess they say that Cash did have the police going into both the homes, Darren Brown homes and Monica's house. I don't know what they found, but you can see the FBI went in, a tissue, and they were removing a bunch of things, electronics, blood on it. They also found a small pocket knife. There was a connection between Monica and Cameron. They say there was some sort of relationship there with a knife of some kind. Once they go through in Monica's house, I don't know lying about anything, but you can see the FBI went in. There's also security cameras in the bunch of things, electronics in that room. But once again, I'm not sure that there was a connection between Monica and Cameron. There was some sort of relationship with Carter woke up, and then we would wonder where Carter once they go through the electronics. If she's lying about anything, and it'll never. There's also security cameras in the house. I don't think it was just in that room. But once again, I'm not sure. That's it. We're going to see what else comes out of this case. I'm very curious to see if there is anything we would wonder with theories because they're out there. Did he go late, early, and he just never. Not hard to talk to anybody. Nothing's hard to know anymore. So let me know what you think about this. That's case. We're gonna see what else comes out of this case. I'm very curious to see if there is any talk about these theories. We are a true crime hive mind here, so I really appreciate the input that you guys give me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Not hard to believe haven't already. It's hard to believe anymore. Don't forget to hit like if you like the video. Share it in the comment section. Let me know if you have other Twitter. Follow my podcast that I co-host every week with Derek Lavasser. We are a true crime hive mind here, so I really appreciate every Friday you guys give me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. I'm really sad about this. To hit like, and like I said, it's kind of less important to me. It's worth sharing it and Instagram, Twitter. Obviously, I want to know this stuff that I co-host every week with Derek Lavasser. And he completely got lost in the show. New episodes go up every Friday, and the episodes will then go up on YouTube. Like I said, I'm really sad about this. And like I said, it's kind of less important. Either way, it doesn't look like the police are sort of just obviously on there around like they're obviously trying to fact check what Monica said. And he completely got lost in the show. Also, as these adults acting like complete strange to me, why Monica didn't like call the police or juveniles or something when Trevor left either way two sons with her and disappeared and she's going to get a hold of him. Like they're obviously going to fact check what Monica said. It also is a little like strange to me why Monica didn't call the police or call CPS or something when Trevor left his two sons with her and disappeared and she couldn't get a hold of him. I mean, I appreciate that you want to...
Why do I use Navan?
No one asked you!
I set my company's travel policy. It makes managing business travel so incredible. I see that Navan always book this policy flights, hotels, cars, and more. And so I stay in control automated approval for that. Those are my own stats. When my employees book I set my company's travel policy once, now vacation policies. What does that even mean? You can't book. I'm glad you can real time whatever. When Navan rewards employees points to a personal trip and send it to hotels automated approval for. It's all funded by Navan. When my employees book online earn rewards. That's their employees' vacations.
What does that even mean?
It's nice not being glad you asked. Also, Navan rewards incomes free to get started sometimes if they book hotels for their policy. It's all funded by Navan. Ergo, sign up for our bottom line. And our employees are happy. It's nice not being that bad guy. Also, did I mention that it's free to get started on Navan? Start managing business travel business. Sign up on Navan.com.
Take care of these kids. I appreciate even that you may have developed some sort of relationship with them, which makes you want to care for them until he gets back. But they have a biological mother and a biological father out there somewhere. And apparently this mother was looking for them, take care of the kids. She wasn't. I appreciate so you should have at least may have developed some sort of relationship with them and gone through the legal avenues to care for them to maybe foster these kids. But until Trevor got back, father out there at that point, and apparently this mother was looking for them, even though Monica says take somebody's kids who aren't yours. So you should have at least them in your police and reported it and as your legal avenues. What were you going to do when they had to maybe foster these kids? What were you going to do until Trevor got back? Because at that point, you're behaving above reproach, but you can't just take take some of these kids who aren't yours and keep them in your house. It's just strange that she didn't call and report it. Like, I would have done that just to cover my own ass, so then nobody could come and say, like, I kidnapped their kids. I don't know. It's all very confusing, but let me know what you think about this in the comment section. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and discuss this case with you. Thank you so much for being here. Justice for cash, no matter what it takes, no matter where it leads us. Stay kind, stay beautiful, and stay safe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
She's like a sickness in my brain. She's like a sickness standing by the window. A vision standing by the window. She ripples through the blinds. It's in the way her body moves. The way she grabs, it's in the way her body moves. Till the signals in my eyes. Till the signals in my mind. It's about the pressure in your fragile skull. I take my pleasure from the pressure in your fragile. She's never giving any time at all. She just comes and goes.
Similar to the last video we did about beauty forest, in the way that it's currently ongoing and unfolding. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have been requesting that I talk about it. Talking about a case that's honestly kind of similar to the last video we did about beauty forest. In the way that it's currently when 25-year-old Alabama woman Carly Russell vanished without a trace on the evening of Thursday, July 13th, 2023. Everyone I talk about it right into action. Whether it was on mainstream media or social media, everyone was talking about Carly and the mysterious circumstances behind her disappearance. When 25-year-old Alabama woman Carly Russell vanished meeting of July 49 hours later, whether dream media really little to no explanation, that people began to wonder if everything was on the up and up, especially since a lot of the information coming from family and friends of Carly's, that was really matching up with the energy that law enforcement and with the energy that law enforcement in once again Alabama. I know a lot of creators jumped to cover this case as it was unfolding. A lot of creators jumped to cover this case as it was unfolding. I hung back a little bit and I watched because I didn't feel comfortable suggesting that this woman's disappearance wasn't really adding out. It wasn't really adding up. It wasn't until I got the adding up information. Even though, like, a couple days in, I kind of felt sketchy about it. A couple days in, I kind of felt a little sketchy about it. I was like, what's happening here? But I didn't really want to go on and talk about that right away because what I didn't really want to go on and talk about that, my gut right away because what if trust goes a lot. But I think that it's not my gut instinct and people's gut instinct always trust goes a lot. It's not always accurate what our gut is telling us. And now, as I'm recording this exactly a week after it all started, I do feel better about breaking it all down and giving my opinion. So, once again, get ready for a wild ride. Grab your coffee, grab a snack, and let's dive in. But before we do, let's have a word from the sponsor of today's video, Magellan TV. You know I love history and true crime, and I really enjoy watching content that combines those two things together, which is why I have devoured one of Magellan TV's new releases, The Railway Murders, a 6-part series that brings you back in time to some of the most shocking and surprising murder cases in history. The railways transformed Britain, and while they changed the way people lived forever, this technological revolution also offered new opportunities for the oldest of crimes, murder. The Railway Murders invites you to enter the worlds of these killers as we see how police ingenuity and early forensics helped bring them to justice. And this was honestly such a good series. I finished it all in one night. I stayed up way too late. I loved the way it was formatted. I loved the aesthetics of it. It was just very educational and entertaining. It kept me very engaged, which is hard because I have ADHD. But I have to say, episode 2, The Body in the Tunnel, was one of my favorites. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. You guys have to check it out for yourself. So you can watch The Railway Murders and so many other documentary films and a series just like it with a 1-month free trial of Magellan TV, a documentary streaming service that I've been watching for years, and I never run out of content because Magellan TV adds 15 to 20 hours of new content every single week. 1 month, so every time I open the Magellan TV app, a documentary streaming service that I've been watching for years, and I never run out of content because Magellan TV adds 15 to 20 hours of new content every single week. So every time I open the Magellan TV app on my phone, Fire TV, tablet, my computer, Google Play, and iOS, and Magellan TV has new things that I cannot wait to watch. You can also crime, history, and many other platforms, even travel. We get some great travel Fire TV documentaries, by the way, and iOS. And Magellan TV has films and series in every genre, stunning, from true crime, history, to science, nature. So go even travel. You get the description box and click on the link below. Try Magellan TV here yourself right now. Free for 30 days later with no strings attached. Stunning. Whenever you want. Really, so go going to want to the description box. Thank you so much on the link below. Sponsoring today's video for yourself right now. Free for 30 days, no strings attached. You can cancel whenever you want. I really don't think you're going to want to. Thank you so much to Magellan TV for sponsoring today's video, and let's dive in.
This weekend, looking for the 2020 police say fanning out so make the Nottingham area this weekend, looking for the 25 interstate fish.
So I guess the way I'm going to start this is I'm going to start off with the original narrative, the original facts that we were all getting last week as the intense, immediate, and thorough search for Carly. The way I'm going to start this is I'm going to start off with the original narrative, the original facts that we were all getting in Birmingham, Alabama, as the intense 20 p.m. on Thursday, July 13, 2023 began. She had stopped to get Carly had heading to the house that she lived in, Wood House in nearby in Birmingham, Alabama. Now I think when people hear Alabama Thursday, July 13, 2023, kind of isolated, stopped to get out there, but for heading to the house that she lived in, Birmingham metro area, is actually the largest suburban city in Alabama. Alabama, it's pretty well developed, very fast, kind of isolated, so Carly leaves work, but she grabs which is part of the Birmingham metro area, is actually the largest suburban city in Highway 459, heading south to the very fast run. After passing the Carly flyover near River Chase Galleria, which is a large shopping / hotel / State Highway 459, heading south to 911, and after passing she had spotted a small child Chase Galleria, which is a large shopping / hotel / state office near mile marker 11, called 911 and reported that the only description we had of this child initially was that Carly had believed it to be a male child, and we heard that he was wearing only a mile marker 11. Calling police before Carly reportedly got on the only description we had of this child initially was that Carly had witnessed to be a male child over, and we heard that he was wearing only a diaper. After calling police, Carly reportedly got on the phone with her brother's girlfriend and remained on the phone with this woman as she pulled over and exited her vehicle. She never heard the child say anything, but then she heard Carly's mother, Rita Russell, all you would tell AL is a background noise. My son's girlfriend heard her asking the child reportedly at that point Carly had stopped responding on her phone, but the call had remained connected, as if to suggest that she'd been on the phone, she'd been taken by surprise, and then the phone had responding on her phone, but the call remained disconnected, as if to suggest that she'd been home, she'd been taken by surprise, and then the phone had dropped or hadn't come up.
It looks like she chopped on the side of the road. It looks like her ex-girlfriend on the phone. And she told her don't get out the car. And she said, on the side of the road, call now. Like, go tell 911 or call now. And she called now, put her on hold. She told her don't get out the car. And she said, I'm not back over and call 911 and call 911. The police were on call 911. And the next thing her son's girlfriend heard was Carly asked her that no child if they were okay. The police she evidently got out the car. The next thing she asked the child if they were okay. Asked the child if they were okay. So she evidently got out the child on the other end. She asked the child if they were okay maybe 2-3 times, and then she could tell there was maybe some type of shuffling response from a child on the other end. The phone dropped to the ground. And from there, she could tell there was maybe some type of shuffling. She was coming into the room to the phone, dropped to the ground. And my son, from there, just transpired was back. She kept the line by that time. She was coming into yelling Carly's name. My son, and my son, I picked up just transpired. She kept the line open. She didn't hang up. I was yelling Carly's name. That line Carly's name. With our son's girlfriend, it was just like Carly's phone. I felt I needed to try to know I know that line try to reach her since she wasn't answering our son's girlfriend. It was just like name and I would just hear I felt I needed to try to do something to try to reach her since she wasn't answering us. We would call her name and I would just hear was like background noise. And from there, I came from the bedroom and told him a brief synopsis of what had just transpired. We needed to, I came and got my clothes in the bedroom location. We do share a brief synopsis of what through just 360. We
Law
needed
enforcement
to
arrived at the scene within
to her
5
location.
minutes
We
of
do
Carly's
share
911 call.
our
When
location
they
through
arrived,
our
neither
360.
Carly nor
Law
this
enforcement
small
arrived
male
at the
child
scene
within 5 minutes of Carly's 911 call. Find when they arrived, neither Carly still running, and many of her belongings were located either inside the vehicle or near the vehicle, such as her purse, gift, or iPhone, still running. Many of her belongings were located either inside the vehicle or near the vehicle, coming out was very, haphazard, because initially we heard that all of these things were in her car, as well as her later we heard that once again all this information coming out was very, haphazard, and initially we heard that all of these things were in her iPhone were located near the vehicle but outside the car. That very night, within, basically minutes of the police finding Carly's abandoned vehicle, there was an immediate and large law enforcement response. A grid search was performed on the area off the side of the highway where Carly's vehicle had been found, and to try and explain the geography of that a little bit, it appears that the side of the road goes down into a ditch, and then there's like brush on the ground, and then there's like a narrow strip of trees that I guess could be described as woods, but it's, it's pretty small. It's not like a large, expansive area of trees that you could get lost in. And then behind that, there's like a fence, and then there appears to be just a bunch of area of trees that you could get lost in. And then behind that, there's like a fence, and then there appears to be just a bunch of housing developments. Within those areas, obviously searched all the way. The area, police found no sign of Carly or her disappearance printed on no time. There was Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama area bringing $60,000 and circumstances of her disappearance printed on them. And Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama was offering a $60,000 reward for her safe return.
But not just in the there has been a lot of attention country. This case is drawing a lot of attention, but not just into the Hoover Metro to help find her. This is the flyer. This case is drawing a lot of attention. Now, a lot of people showed up to the Hoover Metro, even strangers, to help find her. This is right to find out where she is giving out. I had a chance to speak with some of her close members and strangers about dedicated, trying to find out where she is.
This is the second wave, and it's hotter than it was earlier. I mean, it's later than it was earlier. To see the number earlier grow. It's like the second wave, and it's hotter than it was earlier, and it's later than it was earlier. To see the number earlier grow like this,
we really
it just speaks to the kind of friend and person that she is.
The numbers are, and the hashtag is Let's Find Carly.
Now, although they may have gone home for the day, they're still not giving up in hopes of finding her. They will be back out tomorrow morning, starting at 8 o'clock at the Hoover Met again.
So
looking for
appreciative.
Carly
We
Wilson.
really
Angela
thank
Harris,
everybody
mother
that
of
has come
Amanda
out to
Blanchard,
help us search
who
for
was
Carly,
tragically
and the hashtag
kidnapped and murdered in
Let's Find
2019,
Carly.
was just one
Now,
of the
although
many
they may
volunteers
have
who came out
gone
to
home
help look
for the
for
day,
Carly.
they're still
And
not
Angela,
giving up in
using
hopes of
her
finding
social
her.
media
They will be
platforms,
back out
pushed
tomorrow
to get the
morning,
word out
starting at
and
8
to tell
o'clock
everyone
at
to
the
be on the
Hoover Met
lookout
again,
for this
looking
missing
for
woman.
Carly
She was very
Wilson.
vocal.
Angela
Harris,
mother of
Amanda Blanchard, and she was there and murdered in 2019 to be supportive of other volunteers who came out to help look for Carly. Something similar. And Angela, basically the same exact thing that she had gone through, pushed to get the word out and to tell everyone to be on the lookout for this missing daughter. And she was kidnapped and murdered by the news in 2019. And she was there, obviously incredibly dramatic and to be supportive of other things that could ever happen to something similar. Is to have basically the same exact thing that she had. And so now, after this happened, just a few Angela tried to turn this around. So she tried to make something her daughter and was kidnapped, activist, and she's in 2019 helped find this was obviously to be obviously incredibly traumatic for their parents and their family. The worst thing that could ever happen to somebody is to have this happen to your child. And so now, after this happened, Angela tried to turn this around. She tried to make something good from it. She's become an activist, and she's become an activist to help find missing people and to be a support system for their parents and their families.
It's a search. Harris is going to I'm not going to say that's all about. For the whole 32 days, is that your body's in a constant find together to find 25 and there's nothing you can say or nothing you cannot do to make that move.
And honestly, right away, Carly was everywhere. Couldn't open Twitter or Facebook without seeing updates about the case, and whether it was CNN, local media,
I'm
or
not going to say that's all
YouTube,
for the whole 32 days, is that your body's in a constant find.
I first heard about Carly's disappearance on TikTok, and I, like everyone else, was transfixed by the very mysterious details. And honestly, right away, terrifying. It was like something we would see on Facebook without seeing updates about ironic, whether it was CNN, local media, find out YouTube, but it was just, recovering Carly several times a day. I first heard about Carly's disappearance on TikTok, and I, like everyone else, was transfixed by the very mysterious details. Essentially, this young toddler. It was like something we have a young woman vanishing after seeing a baby wandering down a dark highway alone. What happened later, what we would find out. It was crazy. It sounded like maybe just, victim to a predator, or even worse, tragic, so dramatic, especially considering the location. We have she was on a highway, missing, but we have potentially this young toddler. These types of areas, we have a young woman they could just vanishing after seeing a baby wandering down a dark highway alone. Even knows that their victim is gone. It was crazy. It sounded like everyone was afraid, especially people who live even worse Hoover, Alabama, or surrounding areas, especially considering those features that she was on a highway, not by the police, but by Carly's parents, who the day after her disappearance told the media they just get right back on the highway and had been snatched in the process of being a good Samaritan. Everyone was afraid, especially people who live in Hoover, Alabama, and the surrounding areas. And those fears would be confirmed, not by the police, but by Carly's parents, who, the day after her disappearance, told the media that they believed Carly had been snatched in the process of being a good Samaritan.
All right, guys, Vegas, let's go ahead and pass the call to see for so you're rowdy about it.
Listen, since Thursday night, we were able to sit down with Carly's parents before she was found. And they told us about the human search for their missing daughter. Flyers were made on every corner as her parents to meet that Vegas Russell for the safe return of their daughter. Missing since Thursday night, we were able to sit down with Carly's parents before she was found.
It's a chance for her to put up a fight to try to save her life. She's going to do everything she can to put up a fight. So we're asking the community, again, people even in other states, to do the same thing. And please spare any time. It's a chance for her to put up a fight to try to save her life. She's just anything she can to put up a fight. So we're asking the community, again, people even in other
Russells
states,
said that
to
they
do
were
the
praying
same
for
thing.
Carly, and they hoped that any potential abductor would hear the voice of God and let Carly return home safely. Talitha Russell, Carly's mother, told the WIAT, quote, Carly, I know you are scared, and I know you are just praying to God because you do have faith. We're not letting any hope that any potential abductor would hear the voice of God and and let Carly end home safely. Carly's brother also told AL.com if the police had found some cracks in the grass near where Carly had vanished, but because it wasn't a muddy area, they were not letting any negative thoughts in what type of vehicle the tire tracks had come from. The last neighbors and community members gathered around Carly's mother also told AL.com, if the police had found some cracks and they expressed concern and fear that there was still because it wasn't a muddy area, they were unable to determine other young ones in the area. And I mean, in one interview, neighbors and community members gathered around the Russell family. They were asked, do you think that there's still came out and they expressed concern and fear that there was still someone out there, still at large, posing a potential threat to other young men in the area. And I mean, in one interview, that is exactly what Carly's parents said. They were asked, do you think that there's still this abductor, this kidnapper out there on the loose? And they were like, absolutely, 100%.
If she saw a child on the side of the road and says this hits a little too close to home, they they're still just trying to process what's happened as well in the last 24 hours. He's going to continue to offer support to his neighbors. He says he knows his daughter would feel compelled to do the same thing Carly did if she saw a child on the side of the road and says this hits a little too close to home. He says while he himself is still trying to process what's happened in the last 24 hours, he's going to continue to offer support to his neighbors.
So yeah, people were stressed, they were worried. They were desperately looking for Carly, from her parents to the police, neighbors, activists, volunteers, who just wanted to feel that they were doing something. The community came out in droves. Hoover, Alabama Police Department did give some details during a press conference the day after she went missing on Friday. And during that press conference, Lieutenant Daniel Wells said just wanted to feel examination of Carly's home was underway to see if they could find any clues as to what Alabama Police Department stated that there were no details during a press conference the day after she went missing on Friday. And during that press conference, Lieutenant Daniel Wells said that a forensic examination of Carly's home was underway to see if they could find any clues. We heard that a single witness also stated that there were no car on the side of the missing child in the area, and vehicle we currently are investigating every possibility in this case. Band on certainly leaving claiming that the witness was a trucker. And this trucker has also seen a young black man standing allegedly spotted Carly's car on the side of the road that day. And they Saturday night, July 15th, about 49 hours after she had vanished, band on detail, claiming that the witness was a trucker. And this trucker had also seen a young black man standing next to them Saturday night, and the details we were initially getting about that call Saturday night, July 15th, had received a report from the Russell residence of an unresponsive Carly Russell returning person. The Hoover Police Department only assumed that this was the information given that Saturday night, and the details we were initially getting about that call was that emergency dispatch had received a report from the Russell residence of an unresponsive statement from Carly that night. First at her home and later at a nearby hospital. This was the information transported to in order to be examined and treated. When Carly's parents called, didn't even really know what she was being treated. They found Carly conscious and able to speak, and police were able to obtain a statement from Carly that night. First at her home and later at a nearby hospital, she was transported to in order to be examined and treated. But we didn't even really know what she was being treated for. Was she sexually assaulted? Had she been beat up? Was she wounded? Was she being treated for any mental issues she was having because of her abduction, because of her, time away with whatever had happened to her? Was sexually assaulted? She was with? Had she been beat up? We were not getting any details from the police. Was she being treated for any mental issues what she was having because of her abduction? Because of her, said that they were going time away, trying to piece together whatever had happened to her, was doing, and she was with during the 49 hours. She was missing details from the police about what Carly had said. Each piece of information is helping investigators reconstruct Carly's movements during the time she was missing. This is a tedious process, but it is important to make sure everything is methodically evaluated so that we have the clearest possible picture of what took place. From the time Carly called 911 is helping investigators reconstruct Carly's movements during the time she was missing. This is a tedious process. Police probably got a ton of information from her, and everything is methodically evaluated so that we have a clear possible picture of what took place mentioned from the time Carla called a toddler. Still, the city returned home nothing about a potential abductor, which is fair enough, remaining a threat to the community. They didn't give us a description from her, and now they followed give us a description of evidence. This, what struck everyone as a potential abductor. Police mentioned nothing that even if they don't want to go into details about what Carly said, at least they would have gotten potential abductor and then shared them with threat to the community. They didn't give us a description so that everyone could not give us a description for this infant or this toddler that was missing, but also this criminal thing that even if they allegedly, abducted said, at least they would have gotten those details from her and then shared them, be aware that the general public, so that everyone could seem to not only have a lookout after such a horrific infant or this toddler that was missing, but also this criminal things started to feel allegedly, abducted this caused a lot of people could also to feel that themselves, just be aware that just not is going on. Meanwhile, though, seemed pretty casual, specifically for the horrific thing that happened. And this was when things started giving interviews off. They were asking a lot of people privacy to feel that they were asking for respect. They were saying just not in Carly's meanwhile in a bad state. Carly's people specifically knew parents and her questions and what happened to her. She's not going to be able to talk about it, internet, etc., etc. They were also asking for privacy. They were also doubling down on their belief that Carly had been abducted in a bad state, and that she had experienced something. They were asking questions about what happened to her. About those statements now. She's not going to be able to talk about it. Carly's etc., etc. But they were also posted on Instagram. They were also doubling down on their belief that Carly had been abducted, but to only say that she had experienced my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for saving my those statements now. And I want to start also thank you to everyone who shared it from Thomas Littrow Simmons who not to help us with search parties. He posted and who went I don't even know how to start off this post, but to only say thank you to my Lord since I received the call that she was missing for saving my I know she would have done the same for me, so I wasn't going to share it until I saw her face again. To the Hoover Mat. I was straight tunnel vision, even when I would get on social media on my downtime people about Carly false allegations. The something about me since I received the call that she was missing on Thursday. That would have me discouraged. I know she didn't give up me, so I wasn't going to give up until I saw her face again. Right now, I was straight tunnel vision, even when I would get on social media on my downtime and see some of the false allegations, 48 assumptions about me she's physically and mentally stable again. That would have me discouraged and I didn't give up until my favor. All I asked and everyone right now is she didn't see anyone accusing her boyfriend of anything on social media. I didn't even know who this dude was until 48 hours statement. Until she's physically and mentally stable again, they know she's not only but updates or whereabouts. He's directly coming out at this Instagram post and saying that I personally didn't see anyone accusing her boyfriend of anything the entire time she was gone. I didn't even know who this dude was until he's getting that in statement. Maybe Carly's parents also posted an update on Facebook simply expressing their joy and belief that their daughter was home in this Instagram post and saying they did also address the growing speculation her life that entire time she was gone, adding up by saying, quote, just as we made a commitment to not entertain negative thoughts during the time our daughter was missing, simply expressing their joy not entertain negative thoughts, they did also address validating speculation and sheer ignorance at such a joyous time. End quote. But Talitha and Carlos Russell did speak to the Today Show, and they once again did double down on their belief that Carly had genuinely been abducted. They said that when Carly got home, she ran up to the house. She pounded on the door, and it was she ran up to the house. She'd been through some really intense that she'd been through some really intense
trauma. But I had to stand back because she was not in a good state. Because she was not in a good state. Stand back and let medical professionals work with her. Stand back and let medical professionals work with her. But
what happened Saturday night? Did you just get a knock at the door Saturday night? Did you just get a knock at the door?
Anything leading to the case itself.
But they say speculation about the circumstances surrounding Carly's disappearance only making Carly's disappearance
she's having to deal with the trauma. She's having to deal with the completely false allegations about her.
Family now urging the public to let the investigation play out. To let the investigation play out. Her mother mentioning and read a brief message to the public. To read a brief message to the public.
Carly has given the Texas so they can continue to pursue so that they can continue.
Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there? Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there?
Absolutely.
ABC News has reached out to the Hoover Police Department. ABC News has reached out to the Hoover Police Department involved. Police have just said they're following up on all information provided by Carly.
And when I talked to you all on Saturday, you also said your daughter is a fighter and she would find a way back to you.
to ask whether they're looking for an individual involved. Police have just said they're following up on all information provided by Carly.
You can't discuss the details on Saturday.
But they say one thing is clear.
Can you believe she was fighting to find a way back to you?
There were buildings on she exactly had to fight for her life. She found her way back to us. She had to fight for her. We can't discuss the details.
She made it back to you.
But they say one thing is clear.
She did make it back.
And honestly, the Russells seem like lovely. They seem to be really full of love for each other and their daughters, and I am not trying to throw shade at them at all. I will talk more about parents and what I feel about their involvement. And honestly, the Russells in the days after Carly returned home, they seem to be really spread love on social media like wildfire. And I am not trying to throw shade at them. Some seem to be based on actual knowledge of the case and what I feel about their involvement. The police had obtained ring so in the days after Carly's neighborhood, which showed her calmly walking down the street by herself, but some got close to her parents' house, at which point she broke to be based and began to actual knowledge. And then the police released for instance cam footage of the night that Carly came to ring and doorbell footage from Carly's neighborhood, which showed her calmly walking down the street by herself. But this footage really just added fuel to a fire and began to leave her hands. And then the police released for a lot of cam footage. First of the night that Carly was driving this as was on for quite a while. It looked like she was kind of driving with hazard lights on, slowing down and pulling over highway for this footage. Really just added fuel to the fire. She appeared to have turned the hazards on and started slowing down out of place for a lot of reasons. First of all, told 911 Carly was driving that she had hazards on for quite a while. It looked like she was kind of driving with her hazards on. Did Carly down and pulling over from that far back in the dark? It's a little kid, like 2 and she appeared to have turned the hazards on and started slowing down. Not big, very little. It's night. The toddler she spotted on the side of the road. People asked, and how was Carly able to give a description of the child or even know that it was a boy child, kid, like 2 to 3 years old? How tall are they? There were several not tall, driving by at this time, very little. It shows night, yet none of them allegedly seen a child on the side of the road. None of them stopped. And how was a child give a description of the child or even know that it was a boy child? The traffic that far back also showed there were several vehicles driving by at this time, and it shows every up until the moment yet none of them reported seeing a child. Just a few minutes later, none of them stopped. There is never another child seen pulling up next to or in front of Carly. Traffic cam footage. No one else is the traffic cam footage also shows Carly there and over and out of the driver's side, and it shows everything up until the moment that police arrived side just a few minutes later. We just don't see. But there is never another vehicle seen pulling up next to or in front of Carly. She could have still been no one else is seen. We just didn't put it. Carly's passenger side door open out of the driver's side, no shoes behind it, passenger side, and maybe the whole of the passenger side seeing a just don't see what happens to her. Just somebody we still kind of felt like tip, or maybe somebody had seen another car, another red car that looked like she had the passenger side door open in front of that there was no shoes behind it, and we couldn't see. Given a false eyewitness statement, not meaning to, but it had nothing to do with a gray car. It was just somebody that Carly phoning it a false tip, or maybe somebody had seen another car, another red car that looked like Carly's, and a car in front of that was gray. They just given a false eyewitness statement, not meaning to, but it had nothing to do with Carly. There was still law enforcement and right that Carly began to speak out, saying that things just didn't seem right.
And a lot to unpack in this story, so let's welcome now former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. Stuart, thank you so much for being here. Let's dive right in. Please say this is an ongoing investigation. What are they doing right now to either validate or invalidate? And a lot to unpack in this story, so let's welcome now former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. Stuart, thank you so much for being here. Let's dive right in. Please say this is an ongoing investigation. What are they doing right now to either validate or invalidate?
The video does not in any way show a toddler near or in any proximity to where she ultimately stopped. In fact, if you watch the video, she actually goes down the highway for a good distance before she finally comes to a stop. The first thing as an investigator, I think anybody could appreciate that if you saw a toddler in the middle of the night out there on an interstate, you would stop your car instantly and get out frantically and try to protect that child. The behavior of seeing the car continue down the highway Number one is inconsistent. Continue down the highway. He believed number one is that there was a child with the road. He believed that in fact there was a child and anticipated that other motorists would have made the same observation. That other motorists would have made the same observation. Obviously would have called aid to this child in obviously great danger. Aid so this obvious and direct evidence danger. So it's really obvious. I see this case, unfortunately, she may have been. I see this case, unfortunately, and maybe in order to have an alibi else for where she was, in order to make an alibi for where she was. We may see
there are a lot of issues that are occurring in the story.
In the days to come.
Being from there are a lot of issues that are occurring in the story. One, being from suspects, and the police part is very, very, very quiet. Or suspects, if there is someone who's abducting a woman or quiet, we would have, if there is descriptions, we would know abducting a woman, we would know what kind of car, we would have to look for description, because all of us who live in the area, we know what kind of cars, we're really on pins and needles, because all of us who live in the area, everyone was on edge. I had on pins and needles, and I told my wife, don't stop. Everyone was on edge. I'm just called and I told my wife, don't stop the emergency hub inside the road. I called just my family members, other friends, the emergency hub. Don't stop, because everyone was afraid other friends. There were some kids. Make sure we don't stop, because but now is afraid that there were some kids turn home on her own on Saturday night, and there's been nothing from the police department except a statement where they say there was no. Well, they stated. She called and said that there was a child on the side of the road. However, this I-459, the interstate is a very, very. But now the travel been interesting return, and no one else saw her what she claimed on Saturday night. So it's a lot of mystery behind this, a lot of tension. Except the statement where they say that she's fine. There was no really what they stated. She called and said that there was a child on the side of the road.
Call for the police to clarify one way or the other what was going on. People really didn't like that in the beginning. Everyone was like, oh, talk about Carly, talk about Carly, talk about Carly, get her name out there, get her story out there. But then as soon as she came home, everyone shut the public down and was like, stop asking questions. How could you be so disrespectful? And was like, stop asking questions. And a spokesperson from the Hoover Police Department told People Magazine. And a spokesperson from the Hoover Police Department told People Magazine and are following up on that. We have spoken to Carly. We will follow up with her again to attempt to get a better understanding. Follow up with her again to attempt to get a better understanding. And we'll provide information during the time she's missing. And we are able to provide information. And we can. Hoover Police Chief Nick Durst told AL.com, the goal now is to find out AL.com, 48 the goal now is to find out what happened is appeared 48 mile from her house, hours, and then ended up back at the house from her house. Filled again, and then ended up back at the house. To filled. Our priority was to get her home, and she's quickly. Our priority was to get her home, and she's home. And we'll investigate. And to me, that statement was very tender because, and to me, that statement was very tender because if there was a dangerous kidnapper out there and a toddler still missing, if there was a dangerous kidnapper out there and a toddler still missing, still possibly would be in the facts because time would be of the essence in that kind of situation. They say that in 48 hours kind of situation. They say that these people 48 hours can get away. The time where these people can get away. 48 hours. There's find these people within 48 hours. I thought it was also interesting that he said at the end, we're going to investigate. I thought it was also interesting that he said at the end, we're going to investigate and we're going to do what we have to do. I found that interesting. That's, you know, they're usually a little bit more direct, or they won't say usually a little bit more investigative, or they won't say anything as we can. But to say we're investigating and we'll do what as we can. But to say we're investigating and we'll do what we police department already was kind of a little suspicious. Already was kind of a little suspicious. There were also some reports that Carly had been at a local red reports that Carly had been at a local red using aspects of this story.
754 unclassified complaint 1466 Montgomery Highway at the Red Roof Inn. The front office. Per caller, family members at this location saying they received a call from the female that's missing, Carly Russell.
One of the most confusing aspects of this story.
754 unclassified complaint 1466 Montgomery Highway at the Red Roof Inn. The front office. Per caller, family members at this location saying they received a call from the female that's missing, Carly Russell. Or family members are saying they received a call from the female saying she was at this location.
What? Oh, my coffee server, I haven't washed it out or tried.
Before we start this episode, here's a quick preview of what's coming. Ready to take charge of your finances and master the art of money management? Cash Course is your ultimate guide to financial literacy, from personal budgeting to macroeconomics. Check out more episodes at PragerU.com.
Whoa! Are you wearing a limited edition organic free-range black t-shirt from Leo Vuitton?
Why, yes. Thanks for noticing.
Isn't that like $500 each? Where'd you get the money?
Oh, I used that free money that I received on my student loan.
Your student loan? Wait. That money isn't free. You have to pay it back with interest. It's called a loan. Student loans are kind of debt.
Are you sure?
The loans are kind of debt. Look, it's great to be excited about starting adulthood and going to college, but you should be very careful about jumping right into adulthood and going to college. If you're going to take out a student loan, though, be very careful about jumping right into a ton of debt. You can be paying your back. Take out a student loan, though, you better learn about what you're getting into. Because you can be paying it. There are two types of students: private and federal. Private student loans come from private banks. There are federal types of student are funded by the U.S. government, aka private taxpayers. Federal. Since federal student loans come from private banks, fixed interest rates are more funded by the U.S. government. They tend to be more popular than private payers. Since federal student loans, about 92% of all student debt is lower, fixed interest rates, and more. Most federal student loan debt to be more popular than subsidized loans. Direct unsubsidized loans, 92% of all student debt is from all three are available to undergraduate students. No federal financial assistance, direct and only unsubsidized, and all three are available to graduate and professional. Only unsubsidized plus loans are also available to graduate and undergraduate students who need assistance covering any cost parents covered by subsidized or unsubsidized. We need assistance covering any cost not covered by subsidized or unsubsidized. Meaning the loan's interest is paid by the U.S. Department of Education, still by the Department of still and unsubsidized loans interest will continue to build up while you're in school, adding to the total amount you'll have to start paying off after you graduate. If given the option, accept subsidized money first.
So, subsidized loan is freer money for everybody.
Nope. Subsidized loans by subsidized loans plus are available to loans. So it can be good debt if you use them to acquire skills necessary for your desired career. However, it's important to be reasonable and responsible about the amount you borrow. Is there evidence that shows your chosen college major will lead to your job pay? Is it to help you pay off the debt you're getting into to study for that job? This should influence where you choose to go to school, how much money you should. You only have loans to not clear in bankruptcy. It means you're responsible for the debt forever. That's true even if you don't finish school or can't find a job. And because student loans increase your money, car, or house difficult in the future. So, once you've filled out your free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA, it's time to think about your options. First, consider whether you actually need a student loan and how much you need. Explore other kinds of financial aid, like scholarships, work study, and grants, many of which won't require you to take on debt. Or consider community college as a first step before transferring to a university. Maybe you could even work, save, and take classes as you can afford them. Second, whether you take a private or federal loan, be sure you're clear on the loan's terms and conditions and understand your legal obligation to pay it back. Third, keep copies of all the paperwork related to your student loans and keep track of how much money you borrow. It can add up fast. Be sure to calculate the payments into your personal budget. If you're having trouble making payments, contact your loan provider. They may be able to put your loan into deferment or forbearance, which temporarily reduces or pauses payment if you show that you have a need for those accommodations. Last, make your payments on time and for the full amount required by your plan. A loan will be considered delinquent if payments are not received, and it can even go into default, which can have some major consequences. Because college tuition is much higher than it used to be, the need for student loans has significantly to your student loans. As a result, more than half of students graduate with debt. It can add up an average of 21 years to pay off.
payments into your choose your next path wisely. You're having trouble making education that is going to give you a lifelong return. They may be able to put your loans into the first. Because college tuition is much higher than it used to be, the need for student loans has significantly increased. As a result, more than half of students graduate with debt. Watch taking an average of 20 years to pay off. And parents, don't forget to subscribe. Choose your next path wisely and invest in education that is going to give you a lifelong return and not years of debt.
Hi. I really want to tell you.
Watch more at PragerUKids.com. And parents, don't forget to subscribe.
That this had happened at all. Later, Talitha Russell did address the Red Roof Inn situation, claiming that it was a terrible hoax. Quote, "There's one terrible and heartless hoax we want to address out of many. I received a text at some point from someone claiming to be Carly and that she was at the Red Roof Inn. However, when my family went there and knocked on several doors and looked for her, there was no indication Carly was there. Not that she had ever been there." End quote. Now, as we heard from that call, the 911 dispatcher said that the Russells had received a phone call from Carly saying that she was there. Talitha said it had been a text from someone claiming to be Carly. This could just be a misunderstanding. This could be, the fact that they had received a text message and the 911 operator just, thought it was a call. But a lot of people were like, well, if it was a call, how could it be a hoax? Because don't you think you would recognize your daughter's voice? You'd know if it was her or not. So after this Red Roof Inn thing came out, the rumors continued to spread, and as I said, some seemed pretty accurate, actually, as if they had inside information. I believe the most spot-on statement had come from someone who preferred to remain anonymous because they didn't want to get in trouble with their job, but I guess they worked for law enforcement in some way, either like a paramedic or the fire department, and this person had either been at the hospital when Carly was treated, or they'd gotten inside information from someone in the police department. And I say the information was the most legitimate because it would match a lot of the new revelations from the police press conference that happened this past Wednesday, which is actually yesterday as I'm recording this. Amongst other things, this person claimed that Carly had been stealing from her job. They claimed that she had failed out of nursing school, and her whole disappearance had something to do with her ex-boyfriend, who reportedly and allegedly is that same man who made a statement on Instagram claiming to be Carly's current boyfriend. Here's a clip from TikTok user Ask About Celeste, and she breaks it down a little bit better.
What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So, the update I never wanted to truly have to report on. So, we've all been talking about the Carly Russell case. This is her Instagram, Carly. Over the last few days, she shocked the nation. And Black women all over the country felt empowered. We felt finally pleased that America was caring about
Actually, as if they had inside information. I believe the most spot-on statement had come from someone who preferred to remain anonymous because they didn't want to get in trouble with their job, but I guess they worked for law enforcement in some way, either like a paramedic or the fire department, and this person had either been at the hospital when Carly was treated, or they'd gotten inside information.
It looks like 50 people have already got fired for what's really going on with this black trickle, but then she showed up at our house. So you mean to tell me, why did it get all this breezy? Because she get back at her now we get that boyfriend right, spoke out about her mom, kidnapped and regular, tortured, yeah, that was her ex-man, and he actually what is about her with a stripper, and had it out to start talking to get back at him, people start getting it looks like 50 people from Hoover have already got fired for leaking, and they got afraid going on with this trickled into my idea. So you mean to tell me It's on this because she's trying to get back at her ex-man boyfriend that spoke out about her being kidnapped and held in prison. Yeah, that was delusional AF, and he actually cheated on her with a stripper. She had anything more than to get back at him. The fact that she needed to get back at me out of anger. You want to talk about I don't compare to you on your worst day or by. You're miserable, whereas what Chip said, being a stripper to provide for a child, I've heard you had from multiple people. He told me everything you said about me, and he thought I told him to mention me or contact my you're delusional NIGGA again in the conversation. And you'll see I'm not more than comedians, and the fact that you want to get back when your whole family touch. You want to talk about I don't compare to you on your worst day, girl. You're ugly. You're unbeautiful, whereas you could never. You're the bottom to provide for a child I've heard you had from multiple people. Someone from the police department just could not mention me or contact my these details. NIGGA again. Ring and you'll see I'm not the one to play with neighborhood. You don't, and it just shows her when your whole family touch. She gets close to her house, and then she starts sprinting and flailing on you and acting. You could never.
Now I haven't talked about my favorite aspect of this case yet because I'm saving the best for last, and that's going to be what Carly claimed happened to her while she was MIA for 41 hours. As I said, rumors of this story had already pervaded social media before the Hoover Police Department press conference, which took place yesterday as I'm recording this Wednesday, July 19th. Now I haven't talked about my favorite aspect of this case yet because I'm saving the best for last, and that's going to be what Carly claimed happened to her while she was MIA for 49 hours. As I said, rumors of this story had already pervaded social media before the Hoover Police Department press conference, which took place yesterday as I'm recording this Wednesday, July 19th at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. And before I say anything about those details, I was actually getting my nails done when I watched the press conference, and both me and Elena, my nail girl, we were like, wow, look at him, he looks good. Chief Nick Durst on stage, and they said the mayor and the police chief were both present on stage. I thought he was the mayor because Sean just doesn't dress like any police chief I've ever seen. The police chief in Monaco, usually like there's some uniform or in some like dark colors. I dug it. I was actually getting my nails done when I watched the press conference. So, and both me and Elena, my nail girl, we were like, that his suit is tailored to the Nines stage, and they said the mayor and the police chief were both present on stage. I thought he was the mayor because he just doesn't dress like any police chief I've ever seen. Like he could take you to dinner, which is usually like their uniform or in some like dark colored somber. All right, so let's talk about usually ill-fitting suit. And what was my review? Honestly, Chief Durst by the way that his suit far more specific timeline to the Nines. Okay, so I think Chief Durst is along with the timeline. We got several details that we not the job that he has. So here it goes. At 8:20 p.m., Carly left her job at the Woodhouse bottle of champagne before she left. Surveillance from the business captured Carly's concealing and what was finally revealed. That Durst gave us concealing aka timeline, right? Of Carly's so for instance, they said she took a dart along with the timeline. We got several details in a roll of paper towels. So here it goes. Some other undisclosed Carly left her job. I believe they say what we will come to find out that Carly also stole money from the business and captured Carly concealing because remember this person that had been anonymous and said they had some inside information into the investigation. They said she took a dark Carly had probably like a spa roll her job in a roll of paper towels. Right there, and some other kind of known items before the press. I believe based on what we will come to find out that Carly also stole money from the register of business eatery in the nearby remember this person who had been anonymous and said they had some inside information into the investigation. They had said that Carly had been caught stealing from her job. So right there, according to the Hoover police, Carly remained in the Target parking lot until 9:21 p.m. In between 9:21 p.m. and when she called 911 at Colonnade 1 p.m. She traveled to Target spoke to purchase some granola bars on herself and some cheese. Police said she was communicating with people known to her. They don't specifically say who. Just wait. For the first time during this press conference, we also got to hear Carly's the Target parking lot until 9:21 p.m. In between 9:21 p.m. and when she called 911 at 9:41 p.m., Carly spoke to people known to her on her cell phone. That's what the police said. She was communicating with people known to her. They don't specifically say who. For the first time during this press conference, we also got to hear Carly's call to 911.
definitely taking the years.
Wow, bossy do this. Police called to find out that Carly described the child as wearing what looked like a white t-shirt and a diaper, where previously we had heard that she had only said he was wearing a diaper. She also claimed while on the phone with 911 that she was with the child, but she just hadn't gotten out of the car yet. She could just see him, so it makes it seem like she pulled over, or she was at least following slowly behind him. Described the child as wearing what looked like a white t-shirt and a diaper, where previously operator asked her to do things just like he said, or size wearing a diaper. She also okay while on get there 911, but basically Carly said, yes, I can see him, yes, I just hadn't gotten out of the car yet, but she could just see him, so it makes it seem like she pulled over. Now here's what Chief Durst had following slowly behind her, and she had her eyes on him, which the 911 operator asked her to do, to just keep him in your sight to make sure that he's okay and she get there. But basically Carly said, yes, I can see him, yes, I'm with him, but I'm just not physically in his presence because I haven't gotten out of the car yet. Now here's what Chief Durst had to say about that. And Chief Durst said that he found this odd, right? To travel that far, 6 football fields, the length of 6 football fields, because he had kids, he'd been around kids before, and he didn't know any child that young who could travel that far and that fast, especially without crying or ending up on the road. Especially without any other person driving on that highway at that time to travel that far, 6 football fields, the length of 6 football fields, because he had kids, he'd been around kids before, and he didn't know any child that young who could travel that far and that fast. And they also found the food that she had purchased, especially without any other person driving on that highway at that time, but they didn't find snacks. She had purchased at Target, they found granola bars, tons, and they didn't find the items that she had taken. So when law enforcement arrived at the scene, we also found out that when police arrived to Carly's home the night she returned, they found that she had purchased from Taziki's stuffed into her right sock. That was in the car, but it's all kind of starting to add up. Snacks, right? She had purchased at Target. They didn't find the granola bars, the Cheez-Its, and they didn't find some money items that she had taken from her job. We also found out that when police arrived to Carly's home the night she returned, they found that she had purchased that she $7 on her cash and into her right computer. And she made these searches in the days leading up to her disappearance. I definitely think that. But also on the day of Carly was so on July 11th, some money at 7:30 a.m. Carly searched, and that's also going to be sort of solidified. On July 13th, Chief Durst spoke about she searched Carly's internet searches that she made, but without being phone. And on July 13th, at 2:13 she made these searches in the days leading up to her disappearance station, but also on the day of a while later at 2:35 so on July 11th at 7:30 a.m. ticket from Birmingham to Nashville have to pay for an departure date of July 13th. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m. she searched how she goes missing from a register without being searched for the movie. And on July 13th, which at 2:13 a.m. Carly searched Birmingham bus station, and a little while later at 2:35 a.m. she searched one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville with the departure date of July 13th.